Well, guys, after so many episodes of anticlimactic Walking Dead, we finally get the episode we have all been waiting for. Hey guys, Kevin here for the mid-season premiere of The Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 9, No Way Out. And I was really worried about this episode, guys, because as you know, I was very disappointed by the mid-season finale. It felt like they were setting up something, and then they were just like, you know what, fuck it, we'll just figure it out in the second half of this season. And I really didn't think that this second half of the season was going to be that great. In fact, I thought this premiere was going to be very lackluster. I really wasn't expecting much from it. But this episode was insane, I have to say. I mean, there was so much chaos going on in this episode. We got some awesome killings in this episode. I mean, this really was a crazy episode, but I think a really great way to, start the second half of the season. I mean, it really was crazy, but really worthwhile, definitely. Let's just get into this episode because there's a lot to get into, and it's only going to get crazier. I mean, it's not going to get better. It's going to get crazier, and I definitely really love that. And we start off literally right where that post-credits scene left off. If you guys remember, there was that post-credits scene in the mid-season finale we all remember about Negan, and we pick up right after that. We, of course, see that the Saviors request that their property belongs to Negan. There's a standoff. He approaches and requests their sidearms. Daryl first, he abides. Then Sasha, who abides too. He thanks them. Then Abraham, who doesn't want to abide, but does. And they basically have no choice. I mean, they don't even know who Negan is, but you can tell that already they're realizing, you know what, we can't really do anything here. So he walks away with their guns. Sasha asks who they are. He said it's a good question and tells them that they're going to drive them back to where they came from and to get to know each other. By the way, guys, I forgot to say, by far best episode of the season, without a doubt. And he asks for the rest of their stuff. One man escorts Daryl on a search, and Abraham asks who Negan is, which, of course, is a good question because they have no idea who Negan is. You know, this is just a man saying your property belongs to Negan. Who is Negan? You know, why should they be afraid of him? Who is he really? And the man mocks him, tells him he told him not to ask questions. They usually pop on one right off the bat, and since he doesn't want to get the wrong impression, he points guns at Sasha and Abraham, but stops saying he's not going to kill them. He changes his mind, but then the bikes blow up, and Daryl walks out from behind the truck with the rocket launcher that Abraham found. He has a gun in his back, and he killed the guy who was escorting him, and I mean, that was awesome. They just killed them. But we know that Negan is coming. I mean, obviously, they're not lying. We know that Negan is coming. We know that Negan is out there. And Daryl, I think, is really going to regret killing Negan's accomplices. I mean, these were the people that clearly were his gang, and he definitely is going to, feel like shit after doing that. But I like seeing Daryl back to being a badass. I mean, something I think we've really done, they really have not really done well this season, utilized, is Daryl's character. Daryl's always been a badass. He's willing to kill. He will kill anyone that gets in his way. He will protect anyone he loves, and we finally got that side of Daryl back in this episode. I love seeing that because that's the Daryl that we love. I've heard a lot of people say that Daryl's really not that great of a character anymore. Well, after this episode, I definitely feel that this episode, tonight's episode, they really established who Daryl really is, and I love that. So Rick and the group continue walking through the herd in Alexandria. Sam looks nervous. As you remember, Sam saw something. We don't remember what it is, and Sam, I thought, was fine in this episode. I didn't have a problem with him here. I thought that he actually just portrayed the idea of being a scared kid, and Rick stops the group, has a new plan. I like that Sam didn't really see anything. He's just very nervous at what the future holds, and it's understandable. I mean, they're walking out knowing that there are walkers everywhere. They don't really know what they're going to do, even though Rick's done this plan before. There's just too many of them. Is this really going to work? And Rick stops the group and has a new plan. He says they're not going to the armory, but instead they're vehicles, and they'll go back to the quarry. And you can tell that Rick doesn't really know what to do here. I feel like Rick has an idea, but at the same time, he's also kind of like, well, what do we really do? Because they really don't know. And Jessie points out that Judith is an issue, and Gabriel offers to take Judith to the church, and Michonne questions him, but he stands up for himself, and Carl hands Judith over. And I think this was really the episode where they're definitely starting to trust Gabriel. I mean, they really have no choice. Gabriel wants to help them. They know he's not going to betray them, and since they still don't really trust him, but they really have no choice. I mean, he wants to help them. So basically, Jessie tells him to take Sam, but Sam insists he's staying with his mom and begs to stay, and I can understand that. I mean, he wants to stay with his mom, obviously. He's very clingy to her. We know that. It makes sense. So she allows it. Gabriel assures Rick he'll keep Judith safe, and he heads back into the herd towards his church, and Jessie assures Rick that Gabriel will make it. Rick takes Sam's hand. The group starts again. Carl takes Ron's hand, and I'm like, oh shit, this is not going to end well for Carl, because we know that conflict between Ron and Carl is still going on, and Tara and Rosita argue about helping Denise, because as we know, Denise was captured by that wolf, which I thought was actually very well handled, and I was upset, of course, that they just let her get away, but I felt like they really did something good within this episode. We see Rosita insists they can't just go out there and leave Morgan and Carol behind. Carol wants Rosita's gun, obviously, because, she wants to be able to kill, and she wants guns, but Morgan starts to wake up. He asks where the wolf is. Carol comes to the conclusion they took Denise, and Rosita responds by handing over her gun, and we definitely get more of the Morgan-Carol conflict. The reason it worked for me in this episode is because it didn't seem like they were just, fighting in the middle of something, because they're really not a part of, they didn't go with Rick in this episode. If you guys remember, they didn't go with Rick. They stayed behind, and I thought it was fine for them to explore this conflict, definitely. I thought that was fine that they did that. So, definitely that made sense there. So basically, the wolf and Denise are in hiding. Glenn and Enid enter the church, and Enid is alive. She's not dead. I thought that she was dead, but she's not. Glenn searches for supplies, tells Enid how to do the same, and the wall reads, "Faith without words is dead," and Enid tells Glenn when she wanted to run, he told her that that's how you lose people, even after they're gone. She asks what that means, basically, and he tells her that people you love made you who you are, and if you stop being you, that last bit of them that's inside of you is gone. And I thought this was a really meaningful scene, that, the people that love you, they're the reason you are who you are today, and if you stop trying to be yourself, then you're not them. I mean, there's no reason for you to remember them if you're not yourself. It's basically like disrespecting them, and I really like what Glenn's saying here. Remember who you are. That's one of the reasons why Glenn doesn't really want to kill, and he really thinks things through, because he's a man that still has his morals. He will always have this moral compass, and the way that he sticks by things, he doesn't really kill a lot. And I mean, sure, he'll kill if, like, Maggie's in danger, but he won't just kill, quickly like Rick will. And she asks who these people are to Glenn, and he says his parents, Dale, Herschel, Andrea, and Tyrese. And I like that he named pretty much all the major people that have died, and basically these are the people that he remembers and the people that mean the most to him, and she missed that for her. Those people are her parents. She never wanted to disappoint them. She's always wanted to act like the way that they raised her, and I think it was just a really meaningful scene. It shows that these two, they've lost a lot of people, but they can't lose sight of who they are, because a lot of the group has done that. A lot of the group, doesn't really have morals, even though they're trying to. A lot of them have lost their morals, and they can't really have the morals in this world. The reason it's worked for Glenn is because he really thinks things through, and he's very calculated, and I think that's one of the reasons why I really did enjoy seeing that, I have to say. So, basically, I really like that scene. The wolf tells Denise that when there's an opening, they'll make a break for the tower. She tries to tell him she'll slow him down, but he insists that he needs her, and maybe he actually wants her, and that's very interesting that he actually wants to stick by her, because we thought that he was just going to go out and kill her, but that does not seem like what the wolf plans to do with Denise. It seems like he has a much bigger plan for her. So Glenn tells Enid to stay behind. She insists on coming with him to save Maggie, because as we know, that's where he's going. She's just going to follow him anyway, and Glenn allows it, because why not? I mean, she wants to help him, so there's really nothing wrong with that. He can't say no, obviously. So the wolf tells Denise that she was right about him not being born this way. She was right, he's changed, and now he's going to help her change. And if you remember, she told him that this is not who you really are, that they just made you feel you were this way, and he's kind of thinking about what she really said, and I like seeing that the wolf actually is taking Denise's advice. I thought that he was just going to stick by the wolves, but it's clear that Denise is really making him think things through, and he actually does want to help her. He wants her to change, and it's very interesting. We don't really know what he's going to do, but a very interesting stuff there. I'm glad that he didn't just straight up kill Denise. So Enid finds a gun, tells Glenn it's time to go find Maggie, and definitely now they're on the hunt to find her. And of course, Maggie knows that Glenn, she thinks that Glenn's alive. She wants to hope that he's alive. She doesn't know that he's alive, but she wants to hope he is. So, the wolf tells Denise it's a gift. She'll see it one day, or maybe she won't. Denise sighs, and it's night. Walkers are still in Alexandria. Rick and the group continue through them. Sam remembers Carol's words and gets scared by the walkers. He sees a little boy walker and freezes, mainly because he's imagining that this is him. This is who he could end up being, that he could be this walker. Even though he's not this walker, this is who he could be, and the group urges him to continue, but a trio of walkers start to devour him. Jessie screams as she holds on to him. Walkers notice them. Walkers devour Jessie, and the group looks on, and Rick is deeply saddened by this. He remembers happier moments with her. She won't let go of Carl's hand, and Sam and Jessie are dead. That's it. They died, and honestly, I'm happy with that because, you know what, it was time for them to die. I think Sam was getting annoying. They really were going in this weird direction in the mid-season finale, and then Jessie, even though her and Rick seemed like they were supposed to be together, my only thing with this is that they never really explored that romantic aspect between Jessie and Rick. It seemed like they were going to get these two together. They were going to try to be happy. We didn't get anything else with them except that one kiss that we had, so I really don't think that they really got to do what they could with Jessie, but I understand why Jessie had to die. I mean, Sam stayed by Jessie's side. In the comic, that's pretty much what happens, that Sam and Jessie die from that. I heard that that's basically what happens, that, although it's even more brutal in the comic, because I believe in the comic, Rick has to chop off Jessie's hand, and then she's devoured and everything, but it's still sad just to see that she's gone. I mean, this was someone that Rick truly cared about, but he knows he has to move on. He knows he can't really grieve over this, and that's what's really sad about this episode. And there might be some people that say, well, they didn't really get the time to grieve, but there isn't time in this episode. I was fine with the fact that they didn't really get to grieve because there's no time. There's gonna be time for them to grieve, because I believe next week's episode is gonna be them moving to a new location. There's gonna be time for them to grieve. There's gonna be time for them to, you know, for the aftermath of what happened. There's gonna be time for them to have conversations about these things, but right now they can't because there's walkers everywhere. They can't really just stop and grieve. So Rick raises his axe, cuts off her hand. Rick points his gun at Rick, but Ron points his gun at Rick, but Michonne stabs him through the back, and we knew that Ron obviously was not good, and he fires the gun, falls to the ground, devoured. Yes, Ron is dead. I am so happy he's dead. Thank God. I mean, Ron was a terrible character. I hate his character. You guys know I hated Ron. I am so happy to see him gone because he was a dick. I hated him. So Carl's bleeding from his face and says, "Dad," before falling to the ground, and yes, they went in the direction you think they did. Carl loses an eye in this episode. He does, and a lot of people were thinking they weren't going to show this, but I'm glad they did because it goes with the character. It makes they did in the comics that I know a lot of people want them to do in the show, and I'm just glad that they decided to do it because I know a lot of people were thinking they weren't going to do it, and I'm glad that they did. So Michonne slices through the horde as Rick carries Carl, and it's a very emotional scene. I mean, just seeing Carl defeated like that, and especially after all the people that have died, you know, just think of what Rick lost. He lost Jessie, he lost, you know, Sam I don't really think he cared about as much, but Sam, I think Rick and Jessie were going to be like, you know, Rick was kind of like a father figure to Sam, because Sam obviously, I think, loved, you know, he really cared about his father and everything. He really cared about Pete and everything. He does care about him, but he didn't really know what Pete was doing. But Rick was going to be, I think, a father figure to Sam. Now he's gone. Jesse's gone as well. But luckily, Ron's gone. So pretty much all the Alexandrians are gone except for a few of them. So Eugene sits with Rosita. He tells her that they're going to have to fight their way out. She tells him that he won't be one of the ones to fight their way out. That it's not a good idea to do that because, you know, he's not strong enough. And that's true. I mean, we know Eugene isn't really much of a fighter. You know, he can take on people, but he's a big talker. I mean, just think of what he did. He lied to them about being this scientist. So it's clear, it makes sense why Rosita's saying, no, you're not really going to be able to do this because, again, he's a big talker. She doesn't really believe that he's going to be able to save them. Even though he wants to, she doesn't really believe it. So the wolf notices that the walkers are heading towards the gunfire. Denise tells him that the reason his friends are dead is because they tried to put up a fight, and that's true, that they are strong. I like that she's telling him, we are stronger. We will take down your friends and we will kill you. And he tells Denise that they're going to get up the guard tower, leave the safe zone. She doesn't need to be afraid, according to him. He tells her, start moving. They rush to the post. He kills one last walker and one grabs Denise. The wolf kills it, but is bitten by another on his forearm. Denise tells him she'll save his life if he gets her to the infirmary, and I did not know if Denise was sincere here. I mean, she's saying she's going to save his life, but there's a part of me that thinks she should have just got up and left him. I mean, I understand that she cares about him and that she wants to save him because she's a nurse, and that's just who she is. Because she's a nurse, she's someone that wants to save people, and I understand that. But a part of me feels she should have just got up and left him, which I don't really think Denise understands everything. And I mean, Denise is still adjusting to the world and things like that. She's still adjusting to the group, and I mean, if Denise had fully adjusted, she probably would have just gotten up and left him, but because she cares, she's gonna leave him. She's not gonna leave him. So Carol looks to the crowded streets through her window. Morgan walks up. The noise causes her to draw the gun, but she puts it down when she sees him. Morgan says that, I like this scene here because they reestablished that she had a child and a husband, and Carol is silent, and he says he didn't want to hurt her, he just had to stop her. And I really like what he says here, and she tells him that, you know, he saved him for him and not for anyone else. It was because Morgan wanted to save this wolf. He didn't try to save the wolf because anyone else wanted him to. He wanted to do it for himself because that's how he would felt, she knew that he would not feel right about not sparing him. So that's why he saved him. And she says that she should have killed Morgan, and Morgan tells her that she can, and that's not a good idea. And I do agree that you need someone like Morgan around. Morgan, he practices in Aikaido. He doesn't want to kill anyone, and because of him practicing and that, it's been working out for him. It's a good strategy, and I think Carol is they're very different people, and I think what they're doing really well here is they're showing two different people's very different viewpoints. Carol wants to kill while Morgan is never going to kill because that's just what he was told not to do. He would have killed, but now that he practices Akaido, and ever since that, he hasn't killed, and you can definitely tell that Carol wants him to kill, but I think Morgan's gonna have to kill at some point, but right now, at least, it's been working out for him, so I like seeing this. I think this is a very good conflict, and I think they handle it really well here. So the wolf and Denise enter her house. She uses his belt to cauterize his arm. They continue through the streets. Carol shoots him from a balcony. He takes out a walker with him on his way down to help Denise escape. And, of course, Carol doesn't trust him. So it makes sense why she's shooting at him. And, basically, Denise runs to the infirmary where she finds Aaron, Heath, and Aiden, which I am very happy you saw these characters because it seemed like they were gone. I mean, we hadn't seen Aaron in the longest time, so I'm glad he was back here. They see Rick and Michonne running with Carl. Still no Spencer. I don't know what the hell happened to Spencer, but he just kind of disappeared. Denise takes a deep breath and starts sending out orders to the men. Rick pleads with her to save him. He looks out the window, sees walkers. He draws his axe, opens the door, and goes outside. Rick starts slicing zombies left and right with his axe. Michonne insists that Rick needs his help. She kisses Carl on the forehead, runs outside with the three men. Rick is still slicing up walkers, and he now has help, and Alexandria is watched from inside their house as walkers go down one by one. Eric and Olivia rush to help. I mean, it really is crazy. It's mayhem. It really is. I mean, just everyone's trying to do whatever they can to kill these walkers, and it really is crazy. So Father Gabriel watches from a church window. He hands Judith to an Alexandria and grabs his machete. Tobin asks Gabriel what he's doing. Gabriel says that they've been praying to save Alexandria, and he says God has given them the courage to save it themselves, and that, they don't need to save because they're going to save it themselves. And I thought that was a very good scene that we saw, that Gabriel is clearly understanding the world, and I really like that. Rosita, Tara, Carol, Eugene, and Morgan prep to go help Rick. Rosita insists Eugene doesn't have to come, and he insists that he does, and this is a story people are going to tell, that he's going to step up and kill, where Rosita doesn't really think he's capable of doing it. But I like Eugene saying, no, I want to do this. I want to do this one heroic act because I haven't done anything yet. And and it's going to show that he is more capable than Rick thought he was. And Rick finds the wolf, apologized before putting him down, and he just had to do it. I mean, it was a wolf. He couldn't trust him. No matter what happened, he couldn't trust this wolf. And I understand why Rick apologized, because he knew that he wanted to do right. It was just too late. He couldn't trust him. He was bitten. He had to kill him. It was just that simple. So Glenn and Enid find Maggie. Her post is falling. Glenn starts firing his gun to attract attention as Enid climbs the post. Enid and Glenn watch as Glenn is seemingly devoured by walkers, and it's pretty crazy, but it's obvious that Glenn's not dead. I mean, he's definitely not dead. So Abraham and Sasha move them down with machine guns. Abraham asks him to unlock the gates, and basically Glenn gets into the truck with Daryl. They try to think of a plan of some sort. They don't really know what it's going to be, but they know that they have some sort of plan. I like seeing the group basically get back together here. Rick, Michonne, Heath, and others continue to take down walkers, and Daryl starts pouring gas into the sewage lines. The walkers are seemingly endless, and the survivors are being backed into a corner. Abraham drives the fuel truck, and Daryl launches as rockets into the pond filled with gas, igniting a huge flame which attracts the walkers. The walkers head right into the fire and start burning up. The survivors fight to kill as many walkers as they can. The most epic, I mean, it really is crazy. The way that this scene was done was awesome. Everyone just, like, killing walkers one by one, taking one swing. We saw a close-up of everyone just taking a swing at walkers. It was just awesome. It really was cool the way they did that, and, I mean, it really just shows how crazy of a fight this is. This is the craziest fight I think we've ever seen on The Walking Dead, and the fact that they were able to do this is really insane, and I think really worthwhile, because, like I said, we've been wanting to see this stuff, but we haven't seen it, and I'm glad that we finally got to see just some really awesome walker killing. That's some of the best stuff the show has to offer, and I think they did that very well here. And yeah, the show has some great stuff with, human conflict as well, but this episode we need that walker killing because they need to kill some walkers, obviously. It was a really dangerous situation, and they needed to stop it. It really did feel like an extended mid-season finale, but I didn't really care because it was what I wanted this mid-season finale to be. So Alexandria sits on the porch in the infirmary covered in blood, and you can see that they survived. They survived. They were able to do this on their own, and I like that Alexandria showed what they were capable of. They're not just, these people that aren't going to kill. Rick trained them. He's helped them kill, and I like seeing that. And inside, Rick tells a bandaged Carl that he was wrong. He thought the Alexandrians couldn't learn, but today he saw what they could do, what they all can do if they work together. He said that they'll rebuild the walls, they'll expand the walls, there's got to be more. Everything Deanna was talking about is possible. It's all possible. He sees it, and I like seeing Rick optimistic. He's not putting himself down. He's not upset about this. This actually worked for him. The whole season, this plan nothing has worked for him at all, and I like seeing that finally something has worked for him, and he really feels good about it. But I do know things are going to get bad, but I like that Rick thinks, hey, maybe I can do something. Maybe Deanna is right. It just is cool to see a optimistic Rick. Even after all the people he's lost, he's still optimistic, and I like seeing that. So he says it's all possible. He sees that. He says when he was out there with them and when it was over, he says he knew he had this place again. He had this feeling. It took him a while, but what it was because he hadn't felt it since before. And Rick tells Carl that he wants to show him the new world. He wants to make it a reality for him, and he tells Carl to let him show him. And Carl's fingers wrap around Rick's hand to let him know that he is going to be okay. Even though he has one eye, he is alive, and it's enough for Rick to be happy, and that's basically how the episode ends. Overall, guys, amazing episode. I am so happy that we finally got what I want in this episode. Not only did we get some awesome zombie killing, but we got some really necessary deaths as well. Jessie, Ron, Sam, they had to die. They really did. There really wasn't much else they could do with them. Jessie, maybe, but it made sense. I mean, Sam was clinging to Jessie. Jessie wouldn't leave Sam no matter what happened. She had to die. She really did. It makes sense why the wolf had to die as well. I understand that. And no one too major died, but I think Jessie was pretty major. I mean, definitely she was pretty major. I believe that she was the main character, so she definitely was pretty major. But overall, guys, let's talk about this whole thing with the new world. I mean, Rick is convinced that he's going to be able to build this new Alexandria. We know that Negan is out there. There's definitely going to be something between Rick and Negan. Now, I did hear that Negan isn't really going to be much of a threat till the last, few episodes of the season. So I hope that they build it up really well. Like, they don't just introduce this conflict and then drop it like they did with, Terminus and things like that, because that'd be really dumb if they did. I really hope that this is something where we really see it expanded well, and I hope they really do something with it, because that'd be really cool if they did. But like I said, I like seeing Rick's group succeed. It's very rare that we see it, and I like seeing things going well, and I like seeing the Alexandrians are much more capable than Rick thought. It just really shows that Rick is right. He is able to train them, and Rick's plan really is the best at the end of the day. I mean, you need to trust Rick. Rick is the one that will, lead you to survival and to victory, and I love seeing that. I thought that was awesome to watch. I like seeing the group back together as well. Daryl's back, Abraham's back. I just like seeing them be badasses. They're not just sitting around and talking. That was a big problem with the rest of this season, with the first half of the season, that there were so many episodes where characters just sitting around talking, and finally we got that zombie mayhem I've been waiting for. I love seeing it. It was awesome to watch. Definitely really good stuff there. Let's talk about Denise, because she genuinely wanted that wolf to live. I mean, what is she going to do? Is she going to learn that she can't save everyone? I think it's is something that is a real problem for Denise. She wants to save everyone, but she really can't. First of all, it's not her job to do that. Two, she just can't really do it. I mean, she's not the person to really save everyone, even though she wants to. She can't really do it. I think she needs to realize that she can't really save everyone. How is Carl going to be one eye? I mean, clearly he has one eye, but I heard he becomes more badass, so we'll have to see what happens with him. Eugene clearly wants to prove that he is a lot more powerful than he is, and I think he really proved that tonight, and I really like seeing that. So I really hope that Rick trusts him more. I think they're definitely starting to be more trusting of Father Gabriel. I like seeing that. Glenn and Maggie, I like that they seem to be reunited. I think Glenn and Maggie are going to get to that reunion very quickly. It seems like that's what's going to happen. But of course, Maggie didn't see him. Maggie did not see him, unfortunately. They tried to attract attention. It just didn't work. But I really feel that now that they know where Maggie is, we are very close to that Glenn-Maggie reunion that we've all been waiting for. I hope that happens very soon, because not that I don't like Glenn and Enid's scenes. I think they work really well together. I just want to see that reunion happen. This has gone on for far too long, and I really hope that we see them reunite. I really like that. Carol and Morgan, I like this conflict. I really do. But one of them is dying, okay? Either Morgan or Carol. One of them is not getting out alive this season. I could definitely see one of them dying. I know a major character is definitely going to die this season. They've been teasing it all along. Deanna was a major death in the sense that she was the ruler of Alexandria, and she always had this thing with Rick where they led Alexandria together. Now Rick's kind of the ruler of Alexandria, which I think he was initially. Still, you know, he already was kind of the ruler of Alexandria, but now even more so he is because Deanna's gone. But I definitely feel there's going to be a more major death than that. I don't think that this is the first, this is the only death that we've seen this season. There's definitely going to be more. I will definitely say that. But overall, guys, great episode, much better. Also, those guys that Daryl killed, like I said, he's really going to regret killing them. We know what they're capable of. We know that Negan's out there. They were not kidding about it. It's clear that Daryl didn't really take them seriously. I don't really think that Daryl knew. I think Daryl knew that they were, you know, serious about Negan, things like that, but he clearly didn't really take them seriously. I mean, he clearly just thought that if he killed them, that Negan wouldn't come after them. He doesn't really know how much of a threat Negan really is, and that definitely is going to come to bite him in the ass, and that's not going to be good for anyone. But overall, guys, amazing episode. So much better than the first half of the season. I can already tell the second half is going to be so much better. I love that the group is pretty much back together. I love that we actually had some awesome action this episode. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Amazing episode, in my opinion. And we'll see you guys in the next video, which will be for the series premiere of Vinyl, which, guys, I cannot wait to review because this is my most anticipated new show of, you know, the winter season. I will see you guys for that. So, okay, bye.